Captain Matt, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, and asking the question, or answering the question, should you buy a Bayliner? We're going to go through the Bayliner, the history, the good, the bad, the truth, and answer the question, should you buy a Bayliner? So let's take a look at the history of Bayliner. They started in 1957. They were the first to put the boat, motor, and trailer together. Previous to that, you always had to buy the boat, and then you put the loose motor on it, and then you found a trailer, you put it together, and the Bayliner, Orrin Edson said, hey, we're going to package these at the factory, and we're going to put them there. They also were the first to put a stereo in the boat, which was a big deal back in the early days. They were acquired by Brunswick in '86 for $425 million. They had the Chrysler, which turned into the Force, which was the Mercury for a while, and is on to what we know today. In 2000, they spun off the Trophy brand. They relaunched it in 2020. And in 2013, they launched the Bayliner Element line, which was kind of a new, really scaled down, smaller boat. And their real claim to fame is they put more people on the water than any other recreational boating company. So that's sort of the history. Now, the common issues. A few things that Bayliner is known for, and I think you've got to separate the Bayliner from the 80s with the Bayliners of today. There's a lot of similarities, but there are some definite differences. Often, because Bayliner they've got the most people on the water of anybody, they're getting a lot of first-time boaters on the water. So they try to keep that price point down. One of the ways they do that is sometimes they underpower them. They have their base model is oftentimes just enough that if you have a couple people, you're okay. But if you load it up to capacity, the boat just doesn't perform the way you would want it to. In the past, they've had structural issues. They went through a period where they just used chopper gun, which is a manufacturing technique that when it first came out was a huge cost savings, a lot more efficient to build, but it wasn't structurally sound. They've resolved those issues now. Now it's a cheaper boat, and a cheaper boat means less and cheaper material. So if you look at the thickness of the fiberglass, it's thinner than the mid-tier and the premium, obviously. The cheaper materials, instead of using 3/16 stainless, they might use 306, or they might even not use stainless at all and do a chrome plastic piece, or they might just use plastic instead of aluminum. A lot of different ways that using cheaper materials keeps that cost down. And they also use a lot of manufacturing techniques to keep the cost down. Things like having very simple layouts, not a lot of contours, which makes doing the molds and the lamination schedules and the gel coat work easier, faster, because they don't have all those nooks and crannies, and they can save time and material that way. Now, another thing about Bayliner, which may or may not be important depending on who you are, is it's not a prestigious brand. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have had terrible experiences with Bayliner. We'll talk about why that is. A couple of them we've already talked about. So there's a lot of bad mouthing of Bayliner. Why is it called Bayliner? Because the bay is lined with them. There's a lot of jokes at Bayliner expenses, partly because, hey, there were periods of time where it was very true, partly because of the next one is some of the used ones are not well maintained. Because a lot of first-time boat buyers are buying these boats, well, they don't really know how to take care of it. They don't know how to maintain it. They don't know how to operate it properly. And they do a lot of things that when they go to sell it, that next user bought a used boat and they're blaming the brand for poor use and poor maintenance from the original owner. It's one of the reasons we created the Boater Bootcamp, is to help those people that are new to boating. You can get it for free at boaterbootcamp.com so that those types of things don't happen. But if you're looking to buy a used Bayliner, you got to be aware that did they take care of it the right way? Are there things that they did that are going to give me issues as a new owner? It's also a lot of value. You get a lot of boat for the money with the Bayliner. And listen, if you like the idea of having a full warranty and you have a budget, and it suits it, well, we'll answer the question, should you buy one, here in just a little bit. Here are some used Bayliners that I would avoid. So we'll talk about the new as well. But the Rendezvous, the Bayliner Rendezvous is in the mid-90s. It was a tunnel haul. A great boat at the time, a lot of space. The issue is they have the tendency to get real heavy by taking on water, kind of getting water in the hole. And it also takes a special trailer, a big heavy duty trailer, which the boat might only be worth $2,000, but it's going to take a $6,000, $8,000 trailer if you want to tow that thing. A Capri with a Force. If you've watched my what boats not to buy, the Force engine is one. Just stay away from it. You're going to have people that said, I had a Force and I loved it. Just trust me, the likelihood of it being a great experience is very small. Make sure that you inspect the decks, the floors, and the stringers, the structural integrity. The transom, great way to do that is to tap it with a screwdriver. Take the back of the screwdriver or the head of a screwdriver and tap all around, and you listen for a solid tink, tink, tink sound and not a thud, thud, thud. That means there's water, there's delamination, there's problems in the structure of the boat. Now, part of it is they use less materials. They use some cheaper materials. Part of it is, hey, the person may not have taken care of it as well as they should have, may not have sealed things properly so water's getting in, or maybe they installed something and just screwed right into the gel coat below the water line, and now guess what? The water's getting in because they didn't seal it. Not a Bayliner problem, just a inexperienced, unknowledgeable owner issue. So those are some things to look out for when you are looking at a used Bayliner. Now, the new Bayliners, hey, they're very basic. They're very simple layouts. Not a lot of contours. Some areas that are just exposed gel coat and not, finished off upholstery. They're inexpensive. Again, cheaper manufacturing process. Hey, how can we engineer this so it's easy to make? We can make them quickly. Use less material. And so that goes into keeping that price down. But is it a safe boat? Yeah, absolutely. It's a very safe boat. It's not something I would take out in 4-foot seas, but I would definitely be fine on the lake. I would definitely be fine in the harbor, in the intercoastal waterway, have a great time with that boat if it fit my budget and I'm okay with all the other things we talked about. Now, I'm going to equate the Bayliner, specifically the M series, to the Tahoes. The VR series would relate to some of the other Tahoes as well, but other value boats. In my opinion, it's going to go to who's the local dealer that's supporting you, especially if you're a first-time boat owner. Having a support network, somebody that can train you on how to operate it. We have the boot camp, we have our best boat captain programs, which are amazing, and you should take advantage of those. But just having a local resource that you can go to is valuable. So would I go Bayliner or Tahoe? I would lean towards Bayliner, assuming they've got a better dealer in that local market area, knowing that Tahoes, a lot of them are sold at a Bass Pro Shop. Most independent family-owned dealerships are going to give you a better experience. Most of them. It's going to depend. That's why I say research the dealer. Go online. Ask around at the docks. Ask other Bayliner owners in that area what their experience has been in Facebook groups and chat groups to get that experience. Always know the negative experience people are going to be much louder than the good experience people. You're going to have to ask them. They're not just going to be shouting it from the rooftops if they had a great experience, but the negative experience people will be telling everybody everywhere they possibly can. So be aware of that kind of human nature. And then another thing, that's why I always encourage in the Boat Buyer's Toolkit, which you can get for free, is to do a demo, especially on the M hulls, the Element. That M hull design gives you a lot of interior space, but it does give you a rougher ride because of the design that opens it up. It's kind of like the old tri-hull that my family had. We had a 16-foot Larson tri-hull, and in chop is you felt every single piece. It also had a fairly flat bottom. Just so make sure you run it, make sure you're going to be happy with the comfort level of the boat. And sort of the overarching is, hey, if you pay less, you're going to get less, especially on a new boat, but really anything. All of those things that we talked about allow you to keep the price down so your investment is lower. But the trade-off is, hey, it's not built the same way as other boats. So just keep that in mind as you're looking. On the positive side, hey, it's got a Mercury, just like a Sea Ray does, just like a lot of all the other Brunswick brands, but a lot of other boats have a Mercury or a Mercruiser on it. The difference might be in some of the wiring connections and things like that, but the power plant say 40, 50% of the value of the boat is the same as you would get on a premium brand, which is great. They're backed by the Brunswick Group, one of the largest boat manufacturing groups in the country, in the world, really. And so they have the advantage of scale. They own Mercury. They own Sea Ray, Lund, Lowe, Harris, Boston Whaler, all sorts of, there's, I think, 10, 12 brands. But so they're able to buy all those motors from Mercury, which they own, by the way, at a lot better scale. A lot of efficiencies because of the size of their group. Same thing with resin. Same thing with the gel coat, the Roven Woven. Same thing with their hardware. Same thing with their windshield. Same thing with their trailers. All of those things, they had the advantage of selling thousands and thousands and thousands of boats versus some others that are on a smaller scale. So that's an advantage. So the question, should you buy a Bayliner? Well, let me get to that real quick. Like I said, we've got our Boat Buyers Toolkit, which you can get totally for free. It's 40 pages, checklists, questions to ask, how to demo a boat, financing, insurance, all sorts of different stuff that's in there that you'll find valuable. And the answer of should you buy a Bayliner is maybe. Yeah, the M series and the DX series, listen, they're going to ride a little rougher. You can almost see how flat that bottom is on the M series and how basic it is on the interior. Is that going to impact your fun? Probably not if you're not somebody that has, I've got to drive a Lexus or better. I've got to drive a Cadillac, a BMW, Mercedes. If that's you, hey, you can get full warranty. You can get a nice boat. But it's just going to be simple. It's going to be basic. Could be exactly what you're looking for. Same thing with their deck series, the DX. You can see a little bit more angle towards the back, not quite as flat, but still pretty basic. The Trophy, hey, I wouldn't buy this to go offshore in real bad conditions. Again, if you look, it does have a pretty flat bottom, which is going to be a little bit rougher. But if you're just running around in the inlets, if you're running around in the waterways, or you're on a freshwater lake and you're not going out in the roughest of conditions, hey, it's going to be a great experience knowing that there's going to be some little ticky-tacky things that come up in the first couple of years. But if you take good care of it, it's gonna last, and you just have to address those small ticky-tacky things. Hopefully you can do it yourself. The VR series, I'll tell you, I really like the looks of the VR series. You can see you've got a little bit more angle, a little more dead rise on that bow rider, which means you're going to ride just a little bit better in rough chop. It's not as heavy, it's not as thick as some other more mid-tier premium boats, but it is going to be a good experience if you know what you're getting into. And that's the whole point of this video, is should you buy it? Yes, if you're okay with all of the things that we've talked about, if you're okay knowing that, hey, it's not going to be as solid if I spent, another 50% more to go to mid-tier or to premium, but it's going to give my family a good, safe time on the water. It could be a really good opportunity if it fits what you're looking for. And we already talked about the used. Just inspect it carefully. And then they've got the new Pilot House. I haven't seen one of these personally yet. They just came out with them this year, but they look very interesting. Kind of that explorer type vessel. I think they're going to be more popular on the West Coast, up in the Pacific Northwest. But unfortunately, I haven't seen one of these yet. Again, make sure that you're powered properly for the performance and the weight and the load that you're going to take with all of these. And do a sea trial no matter what. So should you buy a Bayliner? Yeah, I've got no problems. I have friends that have owned them and have loved it because they bought smart, they were powered properly for the way they wanted to use it, and they avoided, when they bought used, they avoided some of the pitfalls that can happen with a value brand. So that's my review of Bayliner. You can grab the toolkit totally free, boatersecretweapon.com/toolkit, 40 pages, downloadable PDF. Super valuable. And remember, life truly is better on a boat.